local and fanatic anti-Semites identify with Marxism or Gnosticism. I was wondering why that would possibly be.
I didn't understand you.
I've noticed that the most vocal anti-Semites tend to identify with Gnosticism or Balkanism, and I was wondering why that is.
I'll explain it. All right, thank you for your question. No one ever asked me that question. So the question is, why do people who identify with Gnosticism or Marcionite thinking feature large among anti-Semites? Okay, really. So that question is so insane, it's like unbelievable. So Marcion, who was a very wealthy merchant from Turkey in the 2nd century, comes to the conclusion, he was actually correct, that the Jewish Bible and the Christian Bible are completely incompatible, and therefore there was a different God, an inferior God that wrote the Old Testament, and it was the God of Paul, Jesus. He is responsible for, and it's interesting that his most notable work is not anything he wrote, but rather what he edited. He produced the first New Testament, which included 10 letters of Paul. He too didn't think the pastoral epistles were authentic, or he didn't know they existed because they hadn't been written yet. And parts of the book of Luke, because Paul makes references to the gospel, but when Paul uses the word gospel, he doesn't mean, but Marcion didn't figure that out. So therefore, Marcion, a 2nd century, very bright fellow, brilliant guy, who sparks a revolution in Christianity, that the God of the Jews is inferior, and he's a malevolent God, which would synchronize well with Neoplatonic thinking that the God of this world is an inferior God, a demiurge. As you could see, no new phenomena comes out of nowhere, comes from somewhere. So Marcion opposed the God of the Jews and opposed the Hebrew Bible completely, and believed that it was written by Paul says that in fact Satan, the devil, is the Lord of this world. That's real Neoplatonic thinking, from which Gnosticism emerged. What's Gnosticism? So Gnosticism, the word Gnostic means, because of the word knowledge. What does that mean? So a very quick, fast thing, but in the ancient world, people saw death all around them, and they didn't understand it. Death was ubiquitous. People just died, and they didn't know what cancer was, they didn't know anything about microbiology, they didn't know anything. So imagine living in the ancient world, where the average expected lifespan was somewhere in the order of about 30 years old, and people were just dying for no reason. Conversely, they looked up at the sky and they saw stars, and they understood the stars because in the ancient world, it was we don't need to know that, but they did. And they noticed the perfection. So they thought the God of this world was an inferior God, and that would fit very well with Marcionites, and therefore would be an anti-Jewish view. And Paul uses this idea that there's really a grand mystery in how to be saved from this world, and I have the mystery because it's been revealed to me alone. Ephesians chapter 3, verse 3 through 5. Many of you went to yeshiva, you know this. So that's why Gnosticism, the teachings of Marcion, all synchronize well with anti-Semitism. Now, the church came to officially reject Marcionite teaching that spread wildly, but as it turns out, heresies, in quotation marks, very frequently have an enormous impact on movements. And in the case of the church, Marcion movement, Gnosticism, and Gnostic Christianity, which is 2nd century, but to this day I'm not in the Old Testament, we're in the New Testament, and the Old Covenant is gone. And that's why they synchronize extremely well. But the Jews were saying that it's all from one God, and there's nothing else besides him. That was revolutionary in the world. They really couldn't understand how is it possible. It just seemed what plague befuddled and caused Pharaoh to realize he was in error. Does anyone know which plague Pharaoh went, oh, I see your God is righteous. Remember which plague that was? Was Bora, the seventh plague. Because fire and ice, well, there's no religion that has, in my Rolodex, that with a God that controls ice and fire could be compatible. Okay, I get it. So Judaism is always saying, no. Although things look variegated, different, it's all from Hashem. It's all one, and there is no oneness like Him. There's ein oin milvado. So that's why anti-Semitism and Gnosticism and the teachings of Marcion and Gnostic Christianity were all fiercely anti-Jewish. If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה בחפצו כל